All right, children, welcome back to economics with your favorite teacher, me, Mr. Fritz. Today we're going to talk about the foreign exchange market. All right, the foreign exchange market is essentially just a simple market. That's all it is. It's like regular old supply and demand again, like when we talk about the supply and demand of hamburgers and cookies. It's just now, instead of talking about the product being cookies or hamburgers, the product is actually money, different kinds of currency. So this graph right here, the example that I'm giving you, is showing you the value of USD, US dollars right now, compared to euros. So it's essentially showing you how many euros it takes to buy one US dollar. So right now, first things first, something to keep in mind, we got a concept called bottom, and this is just a way to remember what you're looking at when you look at a graph. So whenever you're reading one of these graphs, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, that's which currency you're looking at the value of. So we're going to be measuring the effect or the change of the value of the US dollar. So it's on bottom over here. Because it's on bottom over here, it has to go on bottom up on this side. So bottom. So we're looking at the value of the US dollar. And again, we're looking at how many euros it takes to purchase a US dollar. All right, so now we're going to talk about the change to the exchange rate. So E is our equilibrium exchange rate. This is how many euros it costs to purchase a dollar right now. Let's say that for some reason, people that use euros, so like people in France or Germany or something, they decide to start buying more US dollars. Maybe they're purchasing more goods and services from the United States. So the demand for US dollars is going to increase. Demand has increased. This drives up the equilibrium exchange rate for the US dollar when compared to euros. So this is just for the dollar and the euro. So when the exchange rate increases, the dollar is now more valuable. It costs more euros to purchase $1. This is called appreciation. The dollar has appreciated, it's worth more now. If we want to buy things from Europe, let's say that I'm going on vacation to France now. This is great for me because now euros will cost me less when I land in France, and I can spend more money and feel like it's costing me less. All right, the dollar can also depreciate or become less valuable in comparison to euros. So let's say the supply of dollars in the foreign exchange market has increased. This could happen because we're buying more of other currencies. So the supply of dollars in the foreign exchange market has increased. That's going to lead to us having a lower exchange rate for the dollar. The dollar will depreciate and become less valuable. As it depreciates, that means that it's going to cost Europeans that use euros fewer euros to buy a dollar. It's going to be cheaper for them. All right, now, a couple things to keep in mind before we move on. First and foremost, this is not all of the US dollars that are in circulation. This is the US dollars that are in the foreign exchange market available to be bought and sold by people from other countries or us even. Your money that you walk around with in your pocket is not part of this because it's not for sale on the foreign exchange market. Second, the dollar appreciating or depreciating isn't in and of itself good or bad. It depends on who you are, honestly. If our dollar appreciates and I'm taking a trip to France, that's going to be great for me because now my dollars are going to go farther because it'll cost me less to buy euros, and then I buy all the stuff in France and it feels cheaper to me. Second, if our dollar depreciates, that's also great for people that work here in the US that sell things, exports to other countries. If our dollar depreciates, exports are going to be sold at a higher rate because foreigners that are buying our exports are going to feel like they're cheaper right now just because it costs them less money to get a dollar. So it's not good or bad, it just depends on who you are really. Okay, now we're going to talk about the things that cause a demand or supply curve to shift. Things that cause supply and demand of a currency to change. The first one is growth. And when I'm talking about growth, I'm talking about an increase in real GDP. As real GDP increases, more people have jobs. Remember, on the aggregate supply, aggregate demand model, that YF at the bottom, the Y stands for real national income. As GDP increases, so too does real national income. And as that's happening, people that have more jobs and more income are going to buy more stuff, including things from other countries. As we begin to import more things, our dollar is going to depreciate because we're going to have to exchange US dollars for whatever currency we're getting that stuff from. Canadian dollars if it's from Canada, yen if it's from Japan, South Korean won if it's from South Korea, and it goes on. All right, so as growth or GDP increases, dollar value is going to depreciate. Next, we're going to talk about the real interest rate. Remember a long time ago when we were talking about the loanable funds graph. Financial capital inflow is when foreigners bring their money over to our country and put it into our financial instruments, either bonds or a bank or something like that. So if our real interest rate goes up, foreign investors are going to bring their money and put it into our bank or our interest-bearing assets like bonds. In order to put their money in our banks or buy bonds in this country, they're first going to have to buy US dollars. So when they bring their money over here and buy US dollars, that causes the currency to appreciate. The US dollar will appreciate when foreign financial capital inflow is occurring. Next, inflation. If prices go up compared to other countries, let's compare us with Canada. If our inflation is outpacing Canada, first thing that's going to happen, Canadians are going to stop buying so much of our stuff. We are going to buy more of their stuff because it will feel cheaper compared to ours. That's going to cause our currency to depreciate. So when inflation increases, currency depreciates and becomes less valuable. Finally, there's taste, and that one's pretty simple. If we all go on vacation to Japan, like a whole bunch of US citizens all at once, take a vacation to Japan, they're going to increase their purchasing of Japanese yen because they're not going to be able to use US dollars when they get there. That'll cause our currency to depreciate. Or let's say that we start buying a whole bunch of Nintendo Switches from Japan. If we buy Nintendo Switches from Japan, we're going to have to first turn our US dollars into Japanese yen and then purchase those Nintendo Switches. That's going to cause our dollar to depreciate and the yen to appreciate. Remember, it's kind of like a seesaw. We're comparing two currencies to each other. So if one appreciates, the other has to depreciate. And I know what you're thinking. I bought a Nintendo Switch and I didn't have to use yen. I know. You're not the one that goes and brings the Nintendo Switches over from Japan. Somebody imported that to this country before you were able to pick it up at Target. And before you could pick it up at Target, before they could buy it to get it imported, they first had to buy Japanese yen so that the Japanese retailers that were selling this would actually be willing to accept the currency. They don't want US dollars, they want yen. All right, now let's talk about how this looks like in practice.
We're in here talking about practice.
All right, children, now to do a couple practice examples. This one's first. Let's say that I have decided that I'm going to import some champagne from France. As we all know, that's the only place in the world you can get actual champagne. The first thing I'm going to do is exchange my dollars for euros. French manufacturers don't want dollars. They want euros because that's what they spend in their own country. So the first thing I'm going to do is have to go to the market for foreign exchange, or the foreign exchange market. I'm going to take my dollars, I'm going to exchange them for euros, then I can go actually buy the champagne. As we looked at what happened here, the supply of US dollars in the foreign exchange market has increased. There's now more of them. There's more available to be purchased because I sold my dollars for euros. Remember, this is buying and selling still. It's just that now instead of buying like a product, the product is currency. So I sold my dollars. There's now more available to be purchased by someone else. The supply of US dollars in the foreign exchange market has increased. My dollar has become less valuable. Next, I bought euros. So you also have to show it like this. Remember, this market was for the US dollar. Euros over dollars, quantity of USD. Remember, bottom. This was about the US dollar compared to the euros. This market, however, is for euros. I put USD over euros. Euros goes in the bottom right-hand corner. So it's bottom. This one's talking about what happened to the euros. I bought euros. So the demand for euros has increased. And if you look, there are now fewer euros available to be purchased. And remember, if something's like flying off the shelf, and there's not as much available of it, you can charge more for it. Whereas the US dollars, there's a lot more US dollars available to be purchased in the foreign exchange market, so now they're cheaper. So the exchange rate has come down. It costs fewer euros to get a dollar, but it costs more dollars to get a euro. Dollar has depreciated, euro has appreciated. Remember, I said it's like a seesaw. We're only comparing two currencies at once, and so because of that, if one goes down, the other has to go up and vice versa. Let's do one more example real quick. All right, for this next example, we're gonna say that the real interest rate has now become higher in the US than it is in the European Union. So there's a higher real interest rate in the United States compared to the real interest rate in the European Union. That's gonna cause capital to flow into the US. Remember, if you're a financial investor, you would much rather let other people borrow your money in the country with the highest real interest rate, because then you get paid back the most money in interest payments. So, like, let's say a foreign investor in the European Union, they find out the real interest rate's higher in the US, they're gonna bring their money over here to put it in like corporate bonds or maybe into like some sort of bank account. So first, in order to put their money into a financial instrument in the United States, they're gonna have to first purchase US dollars. So foreign investors, financial investors in Europe, go into the foreign exchange market, buy US dollars, and sell their euros. When they buy US dollars, the demand curve for US dollars shifts to the right and increases. That causes the exchange rate for the US dollar to increase as well. It now costs more euros to purchase $1. The dollar has appreciated. Now you also notice that the supply of euros has increased on the foreign exchange market. People were selling their euros in order to buy dollars, and that caused the supply of euros in the foreign exchange market to increase. It is now cheaper for the users of US dollars to purchase euros. So who does this help and who does this hurt? For me, if I'm about to go on vacation to the European Union, go to France and Germany and have some fun, well, this is making my trip a lot more affordable, because now when I exchange my dollars into euros, I'm going to pick up a little bit extra money by doing that. And so it'll just go a little bit farther when I buy things in France. Who's it good for? For people that import things from the European Union to the United States, this is going to be great for them, because now the dollar has appreciated in comparison with the euro. So when we buy things like cheese or something from France, we can get that stuff for cheaper. We can get more of it for the same amount of money because we're picking up a little bit extra on the exchange rate. It's going to be bad for people that are exporting things to France, because now French consumers or French importers aren't going to buy as much stuff because they're losing out on money on the exchange rate because the dollar's appreciated relative to the euro. Hooray, we did it. All right.